Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's time for AMA number 24, the secret, well, not secret, I want to say the secret Christmas number, but it isn't so secret. It's the Christmas number 24, at least in Sweden. We're going to jump right into the questions, just some things before they get, posted in the comments. Can you please review MSC? No, I can't. I'm not going to review that many games when I'm in season. It's just not going to happen. Sorry. When are you flying to Korea? Hopefully in 2 weeks. My visa got delayed a bit longer, so that's a bit annoying and frustrating. But, it is what it is. It is what it is. So for the second time, let's jump into the questions. Brilleman66 says, Merry Christmas. Spara 94. I don't know why I said it, just felt natural to say it in Swedish. I'm going to miss your analysis videos. Do you have any suggestions of similar channels and content we could watch to fill the void? Honestly, I haven't been paying that much attention to other people's content. I guess LS is a good go-to one. Like he's the one that, is the most busy in the off season. But of course, it is important that whoever you watch, even myself, is, you need to understand opinions before you make them your own, because I see a lot of people parroting language and using it in the wrong way, and for me that's frustrating. I can imagine for Ellis that's frustrating too, because it puts the information that is put out there in the wrong light. And it is important that before you make opinions your own, to understand the opinions, so you don't you want to be more than just an echo. Altria, hello Yamato, what are your thoughts on ADC buffs coming to 10-11? Keep up the great content. Well, I think AD carries are in a very, very good spot. Very, very good spot. There's many AD carries that are absurdly strong. Kalista, Ezreal, Aphelios, Varus, Syndra. Like the list continues. And I don't think necessarily that it was needed. It's just that I don't know why, but the AD carries have always been the most vocal, role in terms of, forcing changes. Like we've been here so many times in terms of AD carries complaining about their position not being powerful enough. And I understand that the AD carry position in a lot of cases requires coordinated play in order to, really get the most out of it. And I think that's okay. If you're playing solo queue, why are you playing AD carries if you think that's too difficult to play off? Play something else in the position. It is called bot lane for a reason. You don't necessarily need to play AD carries. You can play AP carries. You can, like if the enemy team is Z top, Talon mid, and Rengar, then maybe picking Ashe or whatever is not the best idea. Your AD carry champion is not going to be ever naturally good against champions that are designed to prey on you. You need to be a bit more open-minded in terms of what you can pick in bottom. And I think, if you see enemy team has these 3 champions, maybe you need to pick something else. Maybe pick a tank bottom. It's silly because everyone calls this Senna strategy fasting Senna, but it's just Senna support. You can play the strategy with other supports. It's just Senna support. Like, well, I don't know why it's called fasting. Every support is fasting. Let's be honest here. So it's like, naturally, if you see these 3 assassins on the enemy team, you can choose to go a different direction. You can pick a tank, and then if you, as a tank or as a champion that you pick that is good into the other 3, and you lose against an AD carry, well, your argument in the first place is lost upon you, right? Because the enemy AD carry is just, OP, I guess. It's there is no negative outcome here. It is a win-win, because either you recognize the strength of AD carries or you figured out a way to beat them. I just think AD carries are really, really strong, and I think it's just the lower you get, the worse AD carry players are and teams are in terms of coordinated play. I get it, but there are no good buffs for this. I think this 30 HP buff is pretty big. Any buff is big because I think AD carries are super strong in the first place. Z2 asks, hey Yamato, this question may be too personal for you, but since you moved to Korea, will your girlfriend move with you? And if not, how did the fact that you live on the other side of the globe affect your decision to accept the offer? Of course it matters. You know, my girlfriend is a very big part of my life. Tifa for some, or Elena. She's a very big part of my life, and she knows me and how I am, and she knows my goals, and we are very understanding of each other. You know, it's not an easy decision to make, but it is something that I've always wanted to do, and we're at a point in our life where we aren't completely settled down. We don't have kids yet, we don't have like a house. This is the time to, you know, explore in terms of what we can do before we actually like put our roots down. We are going to make it work. You know, we are going to make it work. We have a very, very strong relationship, and I have full faith in us, and so does she, and we will make it work, no problem. She knew what she was heading into. You know, I've been very open with her about my dreams, and she is very, very supportive. So I am very, very lucky. She also competes and she plays in the female scene, and she has a very good grasp of what esports takes and what you need to give in order to succeed. The OG Red Mist. Also, do you play any other Riot games? Lord of the Rings, TFT, Valorant. I've played, I don't know, Lord of the Rings on PlayStation. Was pretty sick, honestly. I love that game. I played it with my friend. Like, I didn't own it, but I went home to my friend's place and we played it with the game. You got levels and shit, and you like were Aragorn. You play Legolas and Gimli and Gandalf. I don't know. That game was just insane. TFT got boring very fast. Could recognize the impact of RNG and sure you could lessen it by becoming better, but knowing that you had to grind in order to climb kind of, you know, was boring. You know, I was legend multiple times in Hearthstone, and that was all about just having a very high volume of games with a decent level of consistency, and that kind of that idea just bores me. Valorant, the moment I signed with Sandbox, I stopped playing Valorant because it's a game where I can recognize my own potential in it, and it is definitely a game where I could sink a lot of hours into it because it's a lot of fun, and it is a very enjoyable game. But now, as my season's starting, I can't really play any other games except especially something like Valorant. Like, I am very, very, you know, prone to addictive behaviors, and a lot of my addiction comes from, you know, if I have something in front of me like Valorant, I want to figure out the game, I want to min-max it, I want to, you know, become the best possible if I have it in my hands. That's what happened with League, and that's what got me here. Just any game, the fun has been kind of sucked out of it, because the moment I play any other game, it's just instantly I am in this competitive mode, in this zone where I just want to figure the game out, and that can be very draining and also distracting from what I want to do. So now just full focus on League of Legends and chess, occasional chess. I really enjoy chess. I get a feeling that Grabs doesn't do much, mostly because he never says anything on voice comms. Can you explain the role of coach in Champion Select? Is he only preparing the team for Champ Select, or is he saying players what to choose during Champ Select? Best of luck in Korea. I think it depends from team to team. You know, I don't know what the situation is over in G2, but I think it depends on what kind of players you have, what the dynamic of the team is. I see my stage time as, you know, basically the moment I leave stage is when I let the players speak. You know, like sure, like I have questions to the players and I'm using them in the moment, but most of the time during Champion Select I am doing all the talking, because that's the only point in time in game where I get to speak. So this is where I want to divulge my thoughts about how the game is supposed to play, how we want to play the early game, level 1, and you know, specific spikes and the draft and choices that we're going to make. You know, all of this is my opportunity to voice all of my concerns and all of my ideas. So I see it as an opportunity. You know, this is the time where we are 6-man. We have to use it. And then from teams to teams, it differs. You know, sometimes more people talking or one more person talking could be a bad thing. You know, so I don't know what the dynamic is in G2, but this is just how I do it. Simplicity. Is there any skill you learned as a caster desk analyst that you believe will help you with being a coach? I don't think it translates too well. I think being on the desk and being a caster, those are very, very different skills. And it is insanely different. I don't think it's going to help too much, honestly. I think a lot of the things that are good to know and whatever, like anything that is in crossover between coaching and casting are things that I already knew. So I would be lying if I said that, that is a skill that I learned that is going to help me in being a coach. Vivek asks, can you share your thoughts about Korea and China mid-season cup results? Well, I told you so. If DRX found more balance in the way they draft, they could be very dangerous too. But all in all, yeah, top esports. Let's leave the discussion at that. Top esports won. I think, as I mentioned before, I think their issues were the ones that were easiest to solve. I think on top of that, their top laner 369 and the support that I am too afraid to butcher his name, Yuhanja or something. Sorry. They also played super well. I think Jackie Love, Kasa Knight don't need to be spoken for. Kasa was a player that always the first 10 minutes of the game was absolutely insane, even at Worlds with RNG. It was just that later down the line he was very confused, and I think that's the case for a lot of junglers. But with Jackie Love added, macro-wise, top esports also looks really insane. It's just macro-wise, they are super good. Knight is finding consistency, playing constantly at that super high level. It is hard to pinpoint a weakness in top esports right now. They are looking, honestly, indestructible. And when you reach that level of play, it's all about just, being more precise in draft and, think of it as two GMs battling it out in chess. One pawn advantage means so much, one lane advantage means so much, and that's the most beautiful League of Legends that we could have ever, experienced. It was such a beautiful tournament because things and matchups played out the way they are supposed to be played out. Sometimes when you watch other regions, you see like, oh, this is a matchup, and then it's like a team gets an advantage and it's just meaningless. I think that happens a lot in LCK, in Europe, and also in North America, any region besides LPL. And when the LPL gets an advantage, they squeeze the shit out of it. You have an advantage, we're going to use this prio to dive on the bottom side, and then after we dove bottom side, we're going to use a prio into roaming with support and to dive in top, and then it's just a constant flow. They're just flowing like water. I think this is something that everyone can learn from, but it's very difficult to achieve. And all in all, the result is that LPL is going to be very scary coming into the World Championship, and all regions have a lot of work to do. Bronzen Balzac. Hi Amaro, let's say picking wombo combo team comp is the new meta. What do you think would be the best wombo combo team comp viable for pro player on current patch? Considering that this must be an epic 5-man wombo combo team, but also needs to be able to actually play the game to a certain extent without ultimates up. Just pick Wukong, and there you go, wombo combo. He can combo on his own. Obi Int Kenobi, what about being an LCK coach excites you the most? What about being in Korea itself? I love Korean food, I love the Korean culture, I am a big fan of the country, and honestly, every time I've been there, which has been many times, I've always fallen in love with the country over and over again. And in regards to, the part about being an LCK coach that excites you the most is just the challenge of it all. You know, it is a mountain. You know, need to learn a language, need to work in a region that I'm not used to, and that challenge just really motivates me and gives me energy. You know, I'm ready to attack it head on. You know, I have this energy to work 16 hours a day and be happy about it, and that to me is a joy. Dart Sepp, what do you think about Origen's coach and his recent statements on Twitter? I'm assuming you are talking about Kayy's. I honestly, like with so many things that is going on, you know, like everyone has a platform to speak up, you know, right? Everyone can use Twitter or Facebook or Twitch or whatever social media platform to share their opinion. And that's a good thing, but sometimes it's also a bad thing. And it's not necessarily tied to the Origen's coach, as you mentioned. I just think, you know, a lot of people are sharing their opinions about things that they honestly they don't have a clue about. And I'm not gonna say I have a clue about them, but I don't know why everyone's so eager to share their opinion about every single goddamn issue. It is, especially, you know, on Twitter as a platform with 144 characters, whatever the new limit is just absurd. Like, I don't know where you want to head with that. I just think, you know, everyone wants to have like clout on Twitter, and everyone's addicted to likes and so forth. It's just, I don't know. It just a general sentiment for everyone. You don't need to share your opinion about everything if you don't have enough experience or information on it. I think it's okay to not know. Denise, is there a chance you'd coach in another esport in the future? I think your style and mentality would do wonders in, for example, the CSGO pro scene. I could definitely see myself coach another esport in the future. It's something that you have to consider, right? Because I don't know when League of Legends will die. I don't know if it will die, and you need to be able to adapt on the fly. That's why, you know, I'm trying to keep my mechanics in check. I'm trying to be playing actively because, you know, I still believe that this is the best way to learn about the game, to be inside the game, and to watch the game and just add all of these elements together. So definitely, I could see myself coaching another esport. Which one? I don't know. My love is for League of Legends, but if it dies, well, what am I supposed to do? I need to use my esport skills for something. Hello, Yamato. How does the trainee player coach program work in the LCK? Do you think it would be a good addition to other major regions, major leagues, or even anywhere else? Cheers from Portugal. Well, short and sweet, you know, it is just having an additional team, more players that are working with the coaching staff and are working to improve. I think the more players that are involved in teams, the better. If you have a bigger player pool to choose from and you are nurturing talent, it is only beneficial. I think there is no negative side to it, and I would recommend it to every league. Just take it from traditional sports, you know. You have kids starting to play at a very young age in I don't know what they're called, baby teams, whatever, junior teams, and they are learning and grasping the idea of working within a team and responsibility and learning very valuable skills. I think it is important to do this. I think it's the natural progression for every region. It's happening in LCK, it's happening in the LPL, and we have the ERLs, and then you have additional teams. I think it is a beautiful thing. It's something that needs to be done. I think it's a natural progression. Bread and Cheese on Reddit asks, how much do you think traditional sports coaching transfers over to esports coaching? Do you ever look at traditional coaches in sports like soccer coaches as inspirations? What things do you think esports coaches can learn from traditional sports and vice versa? A lot of things transfer because in the end, coaching is about enabling people in any field. It can be used in an office environment. It can be used on the field. It can be used, you know, in sport. It can be used anywhere. You know, it's about enabling people, relationships between people. It is a very social job. As long as there's a relationship between one person to another, coaching can, you know, be involved. In terms of traditional sports coaching, I think it would be very naive if coaches didn't take ideas from it, because there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of coaches with proven track records of building cultures that win. Many coaches that you can learn from, and this is the first thing that I did. You know, naturally, when I began to coach, I had the pleasure of speaking to Koma. Not speaking directly to Koma, but through Horo, I spoke to Koma, and I could ask him questions about with things that he'd done. And at the time, in season 5, Koma was, you know, was the GOAT. He can still be considered the GOAT, right? And on top of that, there is no other place to take inspiration or to, you know, take ideas from. And naturally, you go to traditional sports, and there's a lot of history there. They've made mistakes that you're bound to make unless you take inspiration and ideas from it. And I read a lot about Sir Alex Ferguson, Carlo Ancelotti, Phil Jackson. These are the names that just come off the top of my head. But there's many more, you know. It went like, even like, I looked into how they treat interviews, their biographies, what their players speak about them, and in terms of how they view a team culture should be like. And of course, I didn't copy anything, but you can recognize the patterns, and you can take ideas and shape something of your own. And I think, in general, using the wealth of knowledge is something that you should do in any walk of life. You should just take information from the things that are available, because it would be very naive of us to not do so. And this is why books and information in general is such a blessing that you should use. There's literally no excuse, because you can learn anything out there. Literally anything is on the internet, and you have access to the biggest library. And this library of information has been built upon so many mistakes, and mistakes might sound bad in this context, but mistakes that don't need to be repeated if you go through that information, right? And the same thing applies here for esports. There's a lot of things that can be taken, and I think it's just the handling and the relationship of people, and I think that's what coaching is. And that's it for AMA number 24. If you have any questions, you can post them on the Discord, or the YamatoCannon subreddit, or the Patreon. I want to give a shout out to Nick on Patreon for supporting me. I want to give a shout out to Retes, you sly dog, Zach Esteen, and that's it for this time. I'm struggling to read the Patreon page, but if I missed you, I apologize. I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for your support. If you like these videos, subscribe. I'm going to try to release some chess videos or something when I have the time, but I'm super busy. I'm sorry guys, I'm super busy. I know that I'm, you know, saying, oh, I want to do this, but it's just too difficult right now. So bear with me. Thank you so much for watching. Peace. And if you sneeze during this video, bless you and bless your beautiful face.